It's like envisioning a person that's hooked into all of these wires into the mainframe of this computer. And the breath is essentially you're just disconnecting all of that and
Mm.
you're reconnecting with the higher aspects of yourself, with your soul that's been trying to communicate to you all along. But the mind, the ego, the programming, the conditioning, all of that has been so incredibly loud and in your face that it's become a distraction. And now we get to unhook from this computer, which we might call the matrix, and we begin to bring our true selves, our true nature to the forefront. And that's where life begins to become exciting.
Welcome to Far Out with Faust, everybody. I am Faust Chicho, and today I'm excited and delighted to be joined by Christopher August. What a great name that is. Let me tell you about Chris and what he's been up to. Chris is a transformation teacher. He's a master breathwork facilitator, and he's the co-founder of Beats and Breath. And he's on a mission to activate human potential and create a more conscious, connected world, one breath at a time. Chris hails from Buffalo, New York. And since a young age, he felt the call to seek out adventure. In 2012, he got a master's degree in organizational leadership, and he made a bold decision to go against his lucrative corporate job in pursuit of a greater calling. And so for 2 years, he served. For 2 years, he lived in a small rural village, and he served as a Peace Corps volunteer. And that was by day, and by night, he sought answers to the deeper questions of life. Through a deep communion with nature and a transformative daily practice of writing, meditation, yoga, and breathwork, he began to forge new and profound connections with himself, allowing him to uncover a deeper sense of happiness, meaning, and freedom. Since then, Chris has traveled the globe studying and training in various healing modalities and tools, including breathwork, gene keys, herbalism, and energy work, while at the same time coaching, connecting, and collaborating with people from all walks of life. Most recently, Chris's breathwork company and mobile app, Beats and Breath, has partnered with Chopra Global and is emerging as a leading edge solution for those seeking self-mastery and mind-body healing. Their innovative technology and practice, sonic breathwork, blends together ancient rhythmic breathing techniques with modern music production and the latest advancements in bioacoustics to optimize and enhance one's physical, mental, emotional, and energetic well-being in a matter of minutes. Chris, thank you so much for beaming in, brother. I'm sorry about the technical difficulties. Everyone who's watching on YouTube can probably see that I'm not in my normal recording studio. So Chris has been incredibly patient. Thank you so much, brother.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you having me, man. It's really a pleasure to drop in with you today.
You too, bro. You too. I read your bio and Dorian told me all about you, and I was like, oh, I got to talk to this guy. First of all, your name alone, Christopher August, that's both has tremendous meaning to me. My older brother, his name is Christopher, and August is a month near and dear to my heart. So yeah, I was like, oh, we're off to a great start. I've only read his name.
Perfect, man. No, it's really an honor to be here with you, and I'm really excited to see where this conversation takes us. I'm open to the flow.
Me too, brother. Me too. So listen, let's get into your background a little bit. How did you get into breathwork?
Yeah, like that in itself has been really a beautiful journey and really a modality technology that has really amplified my life on so many levels. And so, as you alluded to in my bio, I left my corporate job in 2012 and pursued a higher calling to go to the Peace Corps. And I lived in Tanzania, Africa. During
Wow.
that time, it was, you can imagine, moving from rural suburbs of Buffalo, New York,
Oh
making
my
good
God.
money, having a new apartment, new car, and now boom, you're in the middle of the village. Just to kind of paint the picture a little bit, I'm 17-hour bus ride from Dar es Salaam, which is like the port city of Tanzania. My banking town where I would just go and maybe get a few groceries here and there, that's an hour away. The
Wow.
closest Peace Corps volunteer is an hour and a half away. I'm the only person that speaks English. So during that experience, I had no choice but to create connections in the community there, but also to create a deeper connection with myself. Because for anybody listening that's been in the corporate world, it's a grind. You're in the hustle and grind daily, working the 9 to 5, perhaps even working longer like I was. And that just burns you out over time. And so this was an opportunity, as I saw it, to come back in with myself. So one day, during that service, we exchange with different Peace Corps volunteers here and there whenever we see them. Sometimes we have movies and shows on thumb drives. Long story short, someone gave me their thumb drive, and on there was a whole series on Kundalini yoga. And
Oh,
so I'm
wow.
like, what is this? I never heard of Kundalini yoga before. And so I start, one day, one afternoon, there's nothing going on in my village. So I put it in my computer and I start going through these Kriyas, right? And in Kundalini, it's breath, movement, and sound combined together to create these powerful Kriyas of transformation to help the energy of your Kundalini rise from your root all the way up to
Hmm.
your crown. And so during that practice, there's a lot of breath of fire and stuff like that. So I was doing this daily and I was like, holy shit, just my breath alone, just doing this practice was like elevating my consciousness and elevating my awareness. And I was reaching these peak states. And even before then, dabbling in plant medicine, this was
Mm.
taking me to a whole new level. So that was the foundation. That was the roots. That knows a long-winded answer, but that's kind of how my breathwork journey started.
No, that makes perfect sense. I mean, and what a location you were kind of not stuck in, but you found yourself isolated in to be able to practice this and really focus on it. That's awesome. It must have been pretty intense, not being able to speak to many people who have even speak your language. And my God, I mean, talk about learning to be in flow. That sounds like a situation that will, you know, force you to it.
Oh yeah, for sure, man.
But so let's jump ahead a little bit. Tell me about Beats and Breath, bro. Like, how was it born? This is because obviously we know if you can't beat them, join them. I mean, and technology is like water these days. You're not going to be able to reach the masses without it. And so, all the ideas and the innovative practices that are coming from the right consciousness and heart space, like Beats and Breath, I love to champion and advocate because it's really going to be our best hope at reaching our young people. you know,
Yeah, man.
so tell me about it.
Yeah, so Beats and Breath came about later on my journey. This is 2020. I'm back in Buffalo, my hometown, after having traveled a lot. My first son is born a year before that, and we're in the midst of this pandemic and everything going
Hmm.
on, and all of the world shutting down. But I found myself in this bubble of a community of people that were very much open to gathering regularly and sharing, wisdom, insights, just being with each other. Right. And I think in a world that was so disconnected, having that, a consistent basis, 40, 50, 60 people every single week, meeting out at my friend's house. We were, drinking cacao, doing breath work, all these
Hmm.
different things. But I was at a men's circle at that time at my friend's house, and I was facilitating this journey for about 30, 40 guys. And another guy was there in the crowd. And after, he approached me and came up to me. He's like, dude, who makes your music for your breath work? I'm like, nobody. I've been looking for somebody to come in
Yeah.
because I have something very original I want to create and do it in a unique way. And he's like, well, I'm a musician. I just moved back from New York City. I'm originally from Buffalo. His name's Johnny Buffalo. And he comes in, and all of a sudden, within 6 weeks, we create an entire album called Soul
Wow.
Rise. And this is a journey through the elements, 33-minute breathwork journeys through the elements. And it was then we're like, holy shit, we just created all of that composition, all of that guidance in a very short amount of time. What else can we do here? And from that point, Beats and Breath was born. And really, Johnny and I kind of like joke to each other. We don't really say this publicly, but I will now. It's like, our idea was like being like ninjas of awakening, right? And like
Hmm.
using breath and sound, which are the primordial forces of creation of life, to help people open themselves up from the inside out, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And that's what we've seen over the hundreds, thousands of journeys we've done so far. We've witnessed people having profound healing experiences. And
Wow.
it's honestly, like, I could speak for days on what I've witnessed and what I've seen, but overall, it's just been magnificent. And so the technology component came in this year when we, fortunately received some investment and we're able to put that money towards creating our own sovereign ecosystem where now people can enter, breathe with us, and experience the power of sonic breathwork and beats and breath.
That's incredible. So the app, so you guys made this album, and then came the app, and then came the so before the app, how are you using this inspired album that you guys created, and then how did you transfer that kind of power and the kind of results you were seeing, which you described as magnificent? And I'm sure they were. I know the power of breath work and healing and meditation. I've witnessed some, quote, miracles myself. And so take us through from what you were seeing, and then how did you get it to translate into the technology?
Yeah, for sure. And I kind of skipped a few parts, but really after the album, we created the ecosystem of beats and breath. And from there, we started to create a membership site where people can come and log in, and we would release maybe a journey every month or so, and just build the library. And so basically we spent 2 years building this library, and now having the technology in the app to be able to house everything, right? And so now that's the vehicle to deliver it to people. And so, and I guess I just want to state, there's a lot of breath work out there, and I'm a believer in all of it, because all breath work, all conscious intentional breathing is so incredibly powerful and transformative. But the way we wanted to do it as well was to create something that was like modern and like hip, right? Like we're breathing to like 808s and trap beats, and also ancient instrumentation of these sitars and gujongs and all of these different things happening. So we wanted to create something where you can feel the resonance of it, and it's done in a way where meditation becomes accessible, and it's like meditation on rocket fuel, right? Because you're just reaching these higher states and catapulting yourself to new levels of consciousness.
I love that, man. People don't realize that there's two components to meditation, particularly when you're talking about meditations that are designed with intention. There is the kind of the old school, the Zen meditation, which is usually exclusively done in quiet, and dealing with the breath and the self, and allowing thoughts to come and go, and then try and end up in a place of nothing, right? But there's also this wonderful component I've discovered of emotion and trance, which with the right beats and rhythm and sounds can expedite your entire meditation process. And I think personally, you can find yourself in a much deeper place than you would have if you were kind of just doing things. And I'm not knocking, like, some people thrive and really love the silent meditations. I was just kind of, I'm kind of, I don't want to say new age and give people the wrong idea, but I learned more with sound and music and beats, so it's such a powerful component, not to be underestimated, particularly if you're new to meditation and breath work and you want to, jump in. You don't have to start like in the middle of the ocean and try and figure out your way. The beats will guide you. So it's, I love the idea, man. I love the concept.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's super cool.
So, most people are starting to realize, or at least have heard of breath work. God, can you imagine? There's people out there who really haven't, but I guess, and a lot of people are coming around to it. And all you have to do is practice the right kind of breath work once for 5-10 minutes, and you're not going to walk away without being like, holy shit, I don't feel anything like I did 10 minutes ago. It's just, but until you do it, until you kind of, pull the trigger, people, I think, are like, oh yeah, breath work, I heard of that. What do you do? Just breathe. So you know what I was thinking we should do? because you can speak on this as well as anyone. You know, people are like, why should people do breath work? What do they need to understand about it?
Yeah. Yeah, why should people do it? It's a big question. And breath work in itself and the technology that's been around for thousands of years, right? And we're just now beginning to tap into breathwork as a healing modality, since pretty much the 70s and Stanislav Grof introducing holotropic breathwork and his research, obviously within the, LSD realm, but then also within the breathwork realm and how popular now it's becoming. And you've had many different movements of breathwork and just kind of outline sort of the timeline of things here, just so people have a base level of an understanding. So you have Stanislav Grof in the 70s, you see holotropic breathwork coming out. You then see rebirthing breathwork, some of these different transformational breathwork practices, shamanic breathwork, all of this stuff starting to come out. Now, as this is happening, there's these mini sub niche movements happening within this realm. Now, meditation as well, which is also, I guess, a category within the breathwork realm, has been also very popular since TCM, transcendental meditation. Yeah. Now, here we are, or I should say TM. Now, here we are in 2023. And I would say that breathwork is one of the fastest growing healing modalities that is around. And you see it now everywhere. People creating all of these different styles, but they're all really based on pranayama, right? And if you look into yoga, you see these different breathing techniques and exercises that are used for many things, for physical, mental, emotional, energetic healing, and also to help you raise your vibrational state, your consciousness. Now, an interesting thing is if you look back into Vedic texts, right? If anybody listening to this is familiar with the Vedic texts and the rishis, they were using breath work. They were also using plant medicine to reach these higher states and access these higher states of being and higher states of awareness. And ever since I've been practicing it myself, I've used it for many different reasons. But if anybody is just tapping in and wondering what is breathwork, it's essentially just an active form of meditation that we tap into using our breath. And now we breathe 20,000 plus times a day. That's on average. It's between 18,000 to about 26,000 times. It depends on the person's state. Most people, because their nervous systems are burnt out and they're operating in a sympathetic fight or flight state, they are going to be a lot of people breathing more so than less, right? So they're taking shallower, short breaths from the chest, and that actually just exacerbates the stress, the overwhelm, and the anxiety that they're already feeling. So when we bring awareness to the breath and we begin to breathe in a slow, rhythmic way, and we do that multiple times, we begin to switch ourselves into a parasympathetic state in which we become relaxed, grounded, center, focused, and calm. Now, that doesn't take much. You can do 10, 20, 30 conscious breaths, and you will have somewhat of a shift of a state, right? And this is why I love breath work, because it's a visceral felt experience where you feel it almost immediately. It doesn't take a while, like maybe taking a supplement for a month or 2 months. It might take some time to feel those benefits. But with the breath, you can access and elevate yourself very quickly. And so anybody that's wanting to get into it, literally just sit and do 10, 20, 30 conscious connected breaths, breathing 4 counts in through your nose, 4 counts out of your mouth, and you will feel the shift right then and there. And that's why one of the many reasons I love it.
So you could do 4. You could do 4. If 4 is too short, you can make it 6. You can play with it. Whatever floats your boat, literally. And some of the incredible science I learned this past year. I was with Greg Braden on a retreat, and he brought in this guy's website. I want to say could it be Breathe? No, wait, no, it's not Breathe. It'll come to me. But he was a plant ceremony practitioner, and guide for 25 years. And then he realized that he could bring an aspect of that, which can be totally independent of the medicine, to people, and it's this incredible breathing. Probably you're very familiar with, I'm sure, a lot of the techniques, but Greg Braden was teaching us about the science behind it and how we have these, I want to call them, I think he called them peptides, but whatever they are, they're where trauma is stored in the body. I mean, amazingly enough, we experience joy and love and excitement, and the body's like Pac-Man. It has no problem metabolizing those emotions. Now, when it comes to deep fear and trauma, and pain, the body, just like when it's in a crisis mode with whatever you're inputting into it, it stores it for whatever reason, whatever biological programming we have. It stores that in the body. And so if it's not metabolized, you can run into trouble. You can run into health problems. And that's when people do. They develop problems with different organs and parts of their body, and they're scratching their head trying to figure out what's up. Well, this is kind of the unseen missing part of one of the many missing parts of our medical profession and diagnostics. But yep. These techniques will help you metabolize that trauma, that pain, that those things that need to be addressed. So whether you're doing meditation or not, breath work is vital, and I mean, change your state. It's like, I do it every day, and every night my son and I do it before we go to bed. It just gets him ready, to sleep, and he goes to sleep like that, and I give him a few other tricks. He never has trouble sleeping, ever.
Yep.
And I catch him doing it by himself because he knows it works.
That's amazing. I love hearing that, and just having that bond between both of you, just using the breath, right? And being able to, again, it's such a simple thing that should be taught everywhere, in every school system, from very, very beginning stages. But of course, the powers that be probably won't want that to happen, right? Breath work, emotional intelligence, all of these things should be taught right away.
Absolutely. I mean, it would be a different world.
100%. And, you spoke to something really powerful and really something that everybody should be aware of. And I'll just touch on it briefly. You spoke about breathwork and trauma, right? And this is a really key piece, because we all experience some level of trauma. We experience some level, generally between the ages of 0 to 7 is when our subconscious mind is wide open. We're a sponge to our external environment, to our parents and so forth. And, during that time, we may experience some level of trauma, whether that's minuscule or something crazy, like a physical sexual abuse or whatever it might be. There's multiple levels to trauma, but all in all, a traumatic event happens, and you alluded to this, from that point, our nervous system gets triggered into fight, flight, or freeze, right? And our cortisol rises, our stress levels go through the roof. And because our reptilian brain is geared towards survival, we take all of that energy and the emotions from that energy and we store them within our body. And that's where we see the manifestation of, I see this all the time: sadness and grief in the heart and the lungs, anger in the liver, right? This is all following traditional Chinese medicine, fear in the kidneys and so forth. And so people are walking around with these diseases that are generally stem from suppressed emotional energy. And so with the breathing, we begin to liberate and unlock this energy that's within us, right? These emotions that we've stored. And oftentimes you see people having very profound emotional releases because they're releasing it from their body as well as from their minds, and then creating a deeper connection with themselves. So again, there's many aspects to breath work and how it can help, but I just wanted to clarify and dive down that just a little bit more.
No, I love that you said that, and it's so true, and it's holistic, man. It's all connected, and unfortunately, our sciences have a great big bias, right now, and it's part of the reason that true progress in our society has been crippled, because of belief systems are what make up our experience and reality. And if you're not installing the right software in the human mind so it can understand the world it lives in, truly understand it, not in a false matrix, then you're going to have a society riddled with strife and problems. And look around, that's exactly what we have all across, I'd say 98% of the world, that is participating in some of these belief systems, which need to be remedied.
Yep.
But so speaking of instances where breath work has really created profound changes, and I have some stories, but I'm sure you have some really remarkable firsthand experience with people who have, and I use this breath work, and I'm wondering what was if some of is there like one or two things that come to mind where you were really mind blowing that breath work was, you saw this change in a person,
Yeah, I'll speak to three levels because I've broken things down into sort of three levels with beats and breath, right? You have heal, right? That's kind of like one aspect. You have awaken, right? Which is like kind of regaining your power, your sixth sense, your intuition. And then prosper, which is really experiencing the manifestation of, bringing things into your life, whether it's love,
Yes.
success, things like that, right? So we'll start on the healing level. I've seen since day one, since I've been facilitating, I've seen people have some of the most miraculous healing experiences. I'm talking just on a simple level of people having severe asthma, right? And being able to go through a very slow rhythmic breathing practice. Like sometimes I'll facilitate like a 4-8 breath, right? Which really slows the parasympathetic and really opens up the lungs and the heart space. And I've seen people go through once or twice, and literally I'll ask them 6-7 months later, how are you feeling? No sign of asthma, no sign of any of that. People, I remember this girl a few years ago, she came into one of our sessions. She had got into an accident and had really severe pain in her leg. And it was, to the point almost crippling for her.
Yeah.
We took her through about a 50-minute hour experience. And she came out of that. She's like, this is the first time in 6 years that I haven't felt any pain in my life. Wow. And so like these experiences, they bring you into, a deep emotional state where it's like, wow, like this is really happening. And you get to see the profound effects that it has on people. Again, I just mentioned trauma, people having some pretty severe experiences growing up. And then being able to process that in a way through the somatic body, through the cellular memory, to be able to release the charge that's behind that. Because you can imagine when you have severe trauma, you're literally carrying that into every aspect of your life.
Whether you realize it or not. Yes.
Whether you realize it or not, right? And it's creating anxiety, it's creating depression, it's creating all of these things. So that has been time after time. Every time I do a session, somebody goes through it. I mean, I just had a woman last week who went through a session. She said it was almost like an ayahuasca experience. She was purging, like physically purging out all of this energy she's been carrying within her solar plexus, within her belly, and just releasing it. She's like, I've never felt lighter in my entire life. So that's from like simply just a healing perspective. Now, if we go to the other perspective, and we look at more of like the spiritual aspects of breath work, people connecting with deceased ancestors, right? People that have passed on, that they're in communication with, whether they knew where their mom or dad went, now having a full-blown like experience and conversation, people having DMT type of experiences with visuals and shapes.
Visions, right? Visions, all kinds everything. Of past lives. Sometimes it's the full gamut.
The full gamut. Exactly. I had, in the last example I'll share, and this is just kind of going off the top of my mind, I had a guy that pretty much he committed to doing our breath work every day for 30 days with the intention to call forth his dream house, right? Because he was in the
Nice,
process
nice.
of buying a house. So he's setting this intention, visualizing the house he wants to live in. He put in an offer for the house he wanted. They denied him. The 31st day came around. He got a call, said they accepted your offer for that exact house. So it's like when you're using visualization and breath, you're
Yeah.
amplifying the energy. Everything's energy and everything is creation. So you get to tap into a conscious way of calling forth and manifesting the life that you desire. That was another example I just wanted to throw in there.
It's a wonderful example. And it's, the heart is magnetic. I always tell people who I talk to about manifesting, I'm like, you got to understand, this is the most powerful electromagnetic tool on the body. People think it's the brain, but that's a misconception. The heart is I think it's hundreds of times more powerful electromagnetically. The mind has its own electrical thing going on, but as far as the magnet, it's right here in the heart. And so, people don't realize how powerful that is as we go about this life as divine, creative sparks straight from source, and we have this incredible, multidimensional DNA, which is very unique, even in the great cosmos. And it gives us these fantastic abilities that we're never taught about, and breathwork is one of the ways we can activate and unlock these abilities. And people who have done it, they're believers. They know it, they've experienced it. They've had that holy shit aha moment. And they'll tell they'll go right to bat and tell you about how much these practices work. And the people who maybe have tried it but have not met with success, in all likelihood, are just not doing it right, or there's just probably one or two things about their practice that they don't, maybe maybe they're very emotionally attached to this thing happening, and that will keep you from it, keep you separate from it. Maybe they haven't learned that with all the imagination and emotion that they're putting forth into their intention, they cannot hold on or expect what's going to happen. That's a big thing, and it's challenging for people. But if they can learn to do that, that thing is going to come, like crashing into their life. They're going to have to get out of the way. They're going to be like, be very pleasantly surprised. And that's the power of this work. It's wonderful.
For sure, man. Excellent. Yeah. Beautifully said.
Tell me about Breathe with Cannabis, because I'm very interested in this project, and I have a lot of friends and family who I'm sure would be as well. Tell me about this.
Yeah, Breathe with Cannabis is a sort of a new baby that's been born over the past year. And
okay,
again, like breath work, breath work and cannabis are both ancient modalities that people have been tapping into for a very, very, very long time. Now, there's a huge stigma around cannabis, as we know, right? In this modern day world, you see cannabis popping up everywhere, which is beautiful. And I absolutely love the medicine of cannabis. It's actually one of my favorite teachers, aside from the breath. It's brought me to some very deep places within myself. But the problem is again, well, we've seen the propaganda all in the 80s and the 90s around it, right? And now, even right now in this era, you have people using cannabis unconsciously, or really any medicine or drugs, right? That can be used unconsciously, and where people are using it to numb themselves. But if you take cannabis and you bring it into, let's just call it a ceremonial space, an intentional space where you are actually working with it and communing with the spirit of that plant, she is very powerful, often referred to as Santa Maria. And when I've connected with her and done so intentionally over the years, she's brought me to some very interesting places within myself. It's oftentimes a truth serum where it illuminates maybe places where you have abandoned or lost yourself, or, you're operating in some form of a lie. She can really illuminate a lot of things. So the intention and the idea behind Breathe with Cannabis is combining breathwork and cannabis in an intentional way to help you to heal and transform and optimize yourself on all levels. And that, again, breathwork alone has been profound. Breathwork and cannabis, holy shit. Talk about rocket fuel. It will send you. And we've been, my co-partner Ryan Sprague and I have been facilitating these experiences online for the past year and a half. We're actually about to go to Austin and do a live experience.
Nice.
We've done a few other live experiences, and I can say confidently some of the most profound experiences I've seen have been in that space alone. And
Wow.
yeah, I'll leave it there, but I'm happy to open up the conversation deeper because there's a lot to say in that
That
space or about that space.
very cool. And you know what? I saw that Ryan. I saw a post you did with Ryan, and I was like, hey, how do these guys know each other? Because I had heard of and I follow Ryan, but I didn't realize that you guys were connected.
Yeah.
And so it was like, hey, wait a minute, I know Ryan. I've seen Ryan around a lot. So it's just crazy how small and connected everything is when push comes to shove.
Oh,
No,
for
that's
sure, man.
awesome, man. I mean, I'm definitely interested in more. I want to make sure that I cover as much as I can. And so maybe we'll revisit that topic if we have time, or maybe we'll have to have another discussion about it. Maybe
For
when I'm
sure.
back in my regular recording space. But I am curious about gene keys and how you've incorporated that to complement breathwork. How do those two things play together?
Yeah, that's another beautiful subject. And, it's interesting because now we're kind of weaving the web here and seeing how breath work can integrate with all of these different practices and modalities, right? And that's the great thing about the breath is it weaves into every area of life. And so the gene keys came to me about 6 years ago through some dear friends of mine. And, for anybody that has never heard of the gene keys, I'll give a very brief synopsis here. It's essentially the combination of your personal astrological makeup and the 64 archetypes of the Chinese I Ching. And when you combine those together, you get your own personal profile or blueprint. And within that blueprint, you're able to dissect and understand yourself on a deeper level, who you are, why you're here, what is your deeper purpose, and how are you here to share your gifts in life? How are you here to open your heart to life? How are you here to liberate your true prosperity? So the Gene Keys in itself, again, a very deep teaching. But with that being said, and working with these keys and these archetypes that are embedded within our own genetic makeup, right? Each of us has all 64 archetypes of the gene keys, but in our profile, we have 11 specific keys that you'll see. If you download your profile, genekeys.com, you can find out all this information, and I can guarantee you it's going to blow your mind, just that. But when we add the breath into it, the breath becomes a tool for contemplation. So as I'm reading through my gene keys, as I'm contemplating my gifts that are embedded within my gene keys profile, the breath helps to bring these to life, right? Because we are all meant to share our gifts with the world. We all have very unique talents, skills, and we have a very unique thing, an offering that we are here to bring to the world in service to others. And the gene keys, the idea behind that is to help to bring that to life and to bring that out. And so that you can fully liberate your authentic soul expression, your soul signature. And so with the breath and combination of that, it really helps to bring all of that energy up to the surface so that you can begin to live your higher purpose, right? There's so
Yeah.
many people that are living their lives that fucking hate their jobs. They hate their relationships. They hate their life, and they're stuck in a rut. They're stuck in modes of self-sabotage and so forth. Again, a whole nother conversation there, but the gene keys and the breath can help to bring all of that up to life. So you can begin to really create and live the life that you were born to live, because everybody has something unique to offer to the world.
That's right. And it's important to remind people of that, and important for them to remember, that they're not here by accident. This whole notion that if things on this planet are a fluke, my God, it's just so absurd. It's just, I mean, one day we're going to look back on this thinking that most people have been convinced of, this notion that we're alone and that we're, that we are an evolutionary accident. I mean, how do you look in the mirror and have thoughts like that? How could this possibly be an accident? It's just crazy what you can. People are just like computers. You really can program them to
Yep.
to believe what they will. I mean, sometimes they're going to end up acquiring enough information to break from that programming, thankfully. But just amazing to me how profound this experience is, and all the things that we're learning to do to realize that profundity. This kind of work being one of the biggest growing, one of the fastest ways to begin to expand your consciousness. It's absolutely unequivocally breath work. I mean, I'm a huge advocate for meditation, but sometimes for people where they're at, breath work is something that they can benefit from more readily and more, in an expedient fashion. So it's just, it's so important right now.
100%, man. Yeah. And, the image that comes to mind, with using the breath, and just wanted to share this quickly because it really came through really strong. It's like envisioning a person that's hooked into all of these wires into the mainframe of this computer. And the breath is essentially, you're just disconnecting all of that and you're reconnecting with the higher aspects of yourself, with your soul that's been trying to communicate to you all along. But the mind, the ego, the programming, the conditioning, all of that has been so incredibly loud and in your face that it's become a distraction. And now we get to unhook from this computer, which we might call the matrix, and we begin to bring our true selves, our true nature to the forefront. And that's where life begins to become exciting.
Yeah. Exciting and sweet and so many more things that you think you don't realize how much you're missing in your life until they start to be a part of your daily life again. It's really a wonderful metaphor you used as far as people, you see people, and I talk to people and they're like, if only they could deal with that negative interject, if only they could deal with where it comes from. And I'm like, the fuck are you talking about? You can deal with it. Hold your breath. Just try this. Okay. Take a big breath and just hold as long as you can and see what happens to the volume of that voice when you're done holding your breath. That's how powerful your breath is. I was an actor and a filmmaker for 20 years, and I had some wonderful vocal teachers over the years. And one of them was an opera singer, and she was Southern. Her name was Nova. What a character! And she used to say, "Faust, with every breath comes salvation," but in a much bigger, booming voice. But my God, what a statement, right? With every breath comes salvation, and because people would get up on stage and they'd be like, they would get scared and they wouldn't breathe, And all you have to do is breathe, and then everything relaxes in the body. So it's so true. With every breath comes salvation.
I love that.
And what it's a simple way before we move on to this. You're literally kind of quieting that voice, and you have the capacity to do this anytime you want. People deal with a lot of, not only negative interject, but we have parents, we have all kinds of programming that is rampant and doesn't serve us, right? So how do you adjust your GPS so that you're no longer getting all these, signals that you don't need or want? And breath work is one of the simplest and easiest ways to begin to just shut all that down and go back into your glorified default, like without all the extraneous signals, So I second your statement, and I encourage everyone to find the truth in it. And it won't take you long if you do this work. That's the beauty of it.
Yep. 100%, man.
Yeah. So let's go far out, brother. Let's talk a little bit about,
I'm ready.
mean, it's great. It's fascinating how at some point on your spiritual journey, and I don't know when and where this happens, and maybe it doesn't happen for everyone, but my experience and what I see is the further down this road you go, the more the greater the likelihood that you're going to end up, understanding more of the celestial cosmos and how connected we are. And wait a minute, what are we doing here? And, we're pointing at these craft going by and we're like, I wonder where they come from. And you're like, dude, did you ever stop and wonder where you come from? You know what I mean? Like, how's that for a bigger unanswered question? How can we really ask until we know where we come from? But you can get those answers, going within as well. So I'm wondering how has your work begun? I'm sure it has begun to bridge the between the physical and also the multi-dimensional realms. And, then we get into UFOs and some of our ET family and how the hell we got here to begin with. Tell me how this is taking you down some of these paths.
Yeah, beautiful question. And this is some of my favorite topics to explore. And one of the reasons I wanted to come on your podcast is because I've, listened to past conversations you've had. And, it's interesting because in a lot of the interviews I, get, or I'm on different podcasts, a lot of these subjects, aren't really touched for many reasons, but now it's allowing me to just kind of open myself in a way that I really like talking about these things specifically within my inner circle. And now we get to do it on a wider platform. So with that being said, one of the things that came to mind when you were just kind of sharing that was, I'll just kind of take you back to Africa. When I was in Africa and I was in the village living there, you can imagine, no light pollution. There's no electricity. There's no running water. There's no modern amenities. I'm cooking over a fire, so you're communing with nature on a very deep level. You have to go to the well or even to the river to get your water. So it's a very connected experience to the land. And when you're in these environments, which most of us don't have even the opportunity, maybe we go to the woods for a day or two. Yeah. Wonderful. I encourage that because nature is amazing. But to do this consistently for 2 years, it really changes things internally for you. And I contribute my spiritual growth and my expansion to nature amongst many of the other things we talked about, including breath. But when I was there, every night I would go outside, I'd look at the sky, right? And the sky, just to paint the picture, you'd see the Milky Way. It's in the southern hemisphere. You would see every single sky. It's like someone just sprinkled glitter over the sky. Wow. I can't even imagine how incredible this sky was and how beautiful it was just to look at it every single evening. So while I was there, you also begin to see some very interesting things happening in that sky. And, right where we are now, where many of us live in different cities, you don't get an opportunity to see what's actually going on up there. And so my experiences, I had several very, very powerful and transformative UFO experiences. Wow. Where I've seen not just, something here and there popping away, but a show happening for 2, 3, 4 minutes, and dances happening between these different crafts. And one can hypothesize what's actually going on. And that's a conversation itself. But since then, I've had many very beautiful experiences communing with life beyond this planet. And whether that's through plant medicine, whether that's through breathwork, or whether that's just through a sober experience, through dream state, to think we are alone is absurd. And now I think what's happening, what I'm seeing as we shift in consciousness, is that more people are beginning to have these experiences where they're connecting with their cosmic nature. And yes, we are human right now having this conversation in this our incarnation, but many of us come from many different planets, and we've come here, at least what I've found within myself, have come here on sort of a mission to begin to bring forth these this different multidimensional information that needs to be shared with this planet. And there's a lot of people that I've met that are now reconnecting with their star seeds and this sort of way to be able to remember who they truly are and where they actually come from. And I think over these next couple of years, as more of the darkness and the shadow is revealed on this planet from some of the paradigms that have been controlling this planet and suppressing information for a while, we're going to see the resurgence of the greater cosmic family coming together on a much bigger scale. And I'm excited for that. I think that's coming relatively soon. And as we shift our vibrational state, as we shift our consciousness, we can actually tune into these parallel realities that are happening all around us all the time. So it's pretty exciting.
No, that was put so awesomely put, and I agree, and I'm excited as well. You know, the more you learn, the more you realize how much you don't know, and that's
Oh, yeah.
incredible statement. You know, I continue to be astounded, just coming across someone, you know, and sometimes they're further and fewer between, but you know, incredible contact experiences happening, and some people who have, you know, really been chosen, not so much because they're so special, but because of their previous incarnation as, you know, directly involved with some of these beings that created us, you know, that had a hand in this royal design, if you will, this incredible human DNA strand, which is, you know, by many accounts, 22 of the most advanced and you know, ancient civilizations throughout the known galaxies, you know, not just the Milky Way, but Andromeda and many more, who have come together with this idea to create, you know, to go from the furthest evolved that a physical species can go, and then decide to see what happens if they started over, but with a combination of all these beings who made it so far. It's an experiment unlike any other in the cosmos, and that's why, you know, so many people are coming down to check out how we're doing, because they don't know what's going to happen. They see all these factions and agendas being, you know, kind of played out, but they're hoping that we realize what we are, you know, before we screw things up too bad. And if we screw things up too bad, you know, they'll probably just hit the flood button and start over again. But, you know, I mean, it's their experiment. I'm sure we'll be here in another way, or, you know, or not. But, you know, the good news is, you know, we're not going anywhere, even if this physicality, you know, comes to an end for now. You know, people are always afraid of, you know, well, what happens if we die? You know, like there's really no such thing, because you're never going to stop existing. Okay. Even the most basic understanding of the laws of energy will tell you that. Well, how could you possibly stop existing? So what are you afraid of? You know, it's just nothing to fear but fear itself, man. It's crazy. I want to give you an opportunity to speak for you know, a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, however long you feel inspired to, and give people a little bit of, you know, I always love the opportunity to just speak to the programming and to the understanding of people who may be listening and who have stuck with us thus far. And if you could give them some advice from what you've accumulated through your work and through your life, some simple advice, some programming that they could plug into, you know, maybe like a mantra or anything of the sort, what would you say to them?
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for giving me the spotlight to share. You know, as I tune into that and just kind of piggyback off what you last said, you know, I'm very optimistic to where things are going. And again, maybe that's my own naivety, but I believe that, you know, we are going to persevere through some of these dark times that we're in right now. And I do feel people waking up on a mass level. And so maybe you find yourself, maybe someone listening to this right now finds yourself in sort of a transitionary period of your life, and you're not really sure what steps to take, where to go next. Maybe you're in a transition in your relationship, maybe in your business, in your career, and you're really finding yourself at this sort of crossroads where you feel something bigger is meant for you. You might even feel like something is missing in your life. What I would recommend, and what I always say to everybody, first, we'll just start with the obvious, with the breath, right? And just really taking a few moments even just a few minutes every single day when you wake up, before you go to bed, just closing down your eyes, putting your hand on your belly, and just really softening that breath, breathing in through your nose and breathing out of your mouth. And as you do that, as you just stay present with each inhale and each exhale, allowing yourself to tune into that voice that might be going on in the background that you might not hear every single day. What is that voice telling you? Now, the ego is going to chime in. You might have the monkey mind, the mental chatter going, but just see for a moment as you tune into that breath, if you can go beyond that to see what's there for you. Now, if you're experiencing some challenge, some struggle, some adversity, and you're having a very difficult time getting past sort of your default programming, knowing that whatever is happening in your life right now is so perfect that it's exactly what you need, the medicine you need to expand yourself to greater levels. If you're experiencing anxiety, if you're experiencing overwhelm and stress and all of that, again, come back to the breath. Allow the breath to guide you like it's its own teacher. And I always look at it like it has its own consciousness, like a lot of our plant allies. If you were to do plant medicine, they have their own way of communing with you. And so does the breath. So keep doing that. Keep working with that. And anytime something challenging shows up, anytime that monkey mind keeps going, I always like to repeat the mantra, I receive with love. Okay. And this sort of diffuses a lot of the fearful energy that might be circulating throughout your system. You're bringing love, you're bringing a higher level of consciousness to whatever this voice is telling you. I receive with love. And as you do that, this voice will begin to calm. You begin to find that centered state. And it's from there where all of the wisdom, all of the power, all of the information that you need that lies within you, because I am not here. Faust is not here. Nobody is here to save you. You have everything you need within yourself. And it all starts and ends with that breath. And through that process, through that journey, you begin to awaken to all of that power, all of that freedom, all of that love, all of that peace, all of that joy, all of who you truly are, all of that prosperity that resides within you. And from that point, your life will begin to expand on greater and new levels. And so I like to keep it simple. I can probably share 30 minutes, 60 more minutes of information here, but I'm going to leave it there and invite you to begin to work with the breath in an intentional and conscious way. Do that for a month straight. If none else, do it for 30 days and tell me. You can write me, you can write Faust, whatever. Tell us what happens and what shifts happen in your life. And if you need assistance, you can download the Beats and Breath app at beatsandbreath.com on iOS and Android. It's free. Go in there, try it out for yourself and just see what happens. No expectations, no attachments. Allow yourself to let go and fully receive with love and go from there.
Amen. Amen to that, brother. So well said. I got goosebumps. Receive with love. What a powerful tool for people to call upon. In moments when it seems like I would be I wish I could be anywhere but right here in this body right now. It just feels unbearable, and we all know how that can feel and how terrible that is. But if you can recontextualize just a little bit, and realize that whatever's happening, no matter how intense the feeling is, you can begin to detach from it, in a healthy way and receive it with love and realize that it's just another opportunity. It is so temporary. The moment you take away that power that it's coming with which is an illusion, that it has control over you, the moment you take the power back from it, it's going to fade, like a shadow in the sun. It's just not going to be able to keep its form. So it was so well put, brother. And it's such a wonderful talk that we had. And I'm so glad that Dorian found you and introduced us, because I love the work you're doing. And yeah, man, it was great. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you having me on, and love what you're doing with the platform and everything you're sharing. Keep speaking your truth, brother. And
Thanks, bro.
yeah, really, really excited to see where it all goes for you.
Thank you, man. The feeling is mutual. You know what we'll have to do is maybe we'll have to get you and Ryan on one time. We'll
Let's
get you
do
guys
it.
on together. That would be amazing. I'd love to have you guys both on together. We'll do like a 2 hour special. I'll make sure that there's no technical difficulties.
Yeah, yeah, all good. Yeah, Ryan can really dive deep into the cannabis aspect, right? As I kind of dove
Awesome.
into the breath work today, Ryan can do the same with cannabis. As that's his sort of realm and specialty. So yeah, brother, happy to do that. That'd be a fun episode.
That would be sweet, bro. So listen, remind everyone where to find you.
Yep.
You just told them they could download the app. Tell them where they can follow you and keep up with everything you're doing.
Yeah, man, for sure. Best way, on my Instagram, Christopher_August. That's where I'm posting most of my content. All my links are on there. And then our Beats and Breath page is just at Beats and Breath. And then of course, our website where you can click, the iOS or Android, wherever you want to download it. You can get the app, check it out. We're building, we're really bringing together some cool stuff, not only with the breath work, but bringing in some products and things like that. So we're excited. And yeah, man, thank you for giving me a
You're
space
welcome,
to
Chris.
share today, man, and looking forward to dropping in again.
Absolutely, Chris. Thank you so much for your time, bro. I appreciate it. And we'll be in touch with you and we're going to put this out and we'll get some clips cut up for our social media and spread the
Sweet.
word about the premiere and all that. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
Cool, man. You have a beautiful day.
You too, Chris. Thanks again.
Take care.